do have a suggestion for a documentary, and hopefully I can get a producer credit on it.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see. You did a great documentary called Five Came Back,
Yeah.
where you featured John Ford, John Huston, what was it? Frank Capra, William Wyler, and George Stevens.
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest another one, and you mentioned the name before, with Brian DePalma and George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg, and Martin Scorsese. It'd be wonderful to have a documentary with those guys, since everybody's still around and they're healthy, and just to talk about each other's films, and just filmmaking. Because whenever I see Spielberg in an interview or Scorsese in an interview, they're just film geeks to the 10th power, and I would
Yeah.
just love to see those guys just hear them talk about film.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting because it's been offered to me, and we've talked about it through the years. You know, you were essentially quoting the movie brats. You know, there was a book called The Movie Brats, and it was George, Stephen, Marty, Brian, John Milius, I think. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot to learn from them, and a lot to learn from. I'm writing a book on Brian right now, that will come out next year, and it's also about complete coincidence, but it's from Sisters to Blowout, and that also happens to be 10 years, roughly. So it's been really interesting to jump from Stephen, the first 10 years, to Brian, not really his first 10 years because he had made several films before Sisters, but like sort of like his horror and thriller films like Carrie and Dress to Kill. And he is a fascinating guy, Brian. And I really hope that young generations who want to make movies are, you know, do not forget him, in the way that certain filmmakers are sometimes forgotten with time, and because he is quite an amazing artist, and there's a lot to learn from him. And I think the interviews I conducted with him for the book, and everyone who worked with him, because I've documented his films also for quite some time, and so I've had the privilege of talking to, you know, Angie Dickinson and Nancy Allen, and, you know, people who were in this film, Sissy Spacek, Jack Fisk, her husband, who was production designer, and finding out all kinds of fun stuff on Carrie. You know, there was when Carrie comes home, there's outside her house, there's a sign that says Paxton Realty. So I said to Jack Fisk, who was a production designer, I'm like, what's Paxton Realty? He said, oh, that's Bill Paxton. The actor was my art director on Carrie, but he was not in the union, and so I couldn't give him credit. So I put him on a billboard, literally. But he's the one who found the pig farm and Carrie's home, the exterior. I mean, I love that stuff. You know, Bill Paxton. Game over, man.